Uh-oh. Motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The continued fallout of the ongoing Imane Khelif situation as the 2024 Olympic boxing gold medalist has been told to return his medal after this afternoon World Boxing announced the implementation of sex verification testing for all athletes and events sanctioned. Following the announcement, officials reported that Khelif had not registered to be tested, to which former cruiserweight champion Enzo Maccarinelli replied, well, I can't believe it. You're telling me it was a man all along?
Oh my God!
Who would have thought? I'm still waiting for Khelif to sue J.K. Rowling and all the others who labeled Khelif a man and make millions and millions as promised. But wait, he can't, as he has to take a gender test first, but we know what the result will be. We've always known. J.K. Rowling wasn't the only one that Imane Khelif threatened to sue. He also threatened to sue Elon Musk.
And where are we with that lawsuit?
Nowhere, because it was never going to go anywhere. It was an idle threat. Idle hands do the devil's work. Imane Khelif's hands never should have been in a boxing ring with biological women, and that's the bottom line. If we can speak plainly, the woke left used the uniqueness of this fighter's biology, assuming this actually is a DSD situation, to further a political agenda. And the thing about politics is that they're tantamount to a popularity contest. Men hitting women is unpopular. Especially among boxing fans. You think we want to see that? So this was always going to be a problem. The idle threats that Imane Khelif made to J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk that they were going to sue, in tandem with reports that the fighter was going to go pro. I knew all of that was bullshit. I knew all of that was never going to pan out. Sue him for what? For saying that you have a male karyotype? You do have a male karyotype, and it's not a crime to say that. And yet, there are still those out there defending Imane Khelif on the premise that the athlete is suffering from a developmental disorder, a sexual disorder. What they're not factoring in is that this disorder is particular to biological men. You understand that? Having inverted testicles still means that you have testicles, and if you have testicles, you're a man. Biologically, you are. So that when the advocates for transgender and intersex athletes argue that such testing regimes are invasive, discriminatory, and out of step with modern human rights law... Human rights? What the hell do you know about human rights when you don't even acknowledge human anatomy, human biology? Words have no meaning to these people. Clearly. Human rights is not the angle you guys ought to go with. What defines a human? What defines a woman? You can't tell us because you're afraid that, well, if you do, it won't further your agenda. And that's what this is all about, an agenda. They were trying to use Imane Khelif's unique biology to further a political agenda. For all of those who are at odds with reality, the reality of their own lives, and the reality of who and what they really are. The woke left are at odds with structure and order, thus words have no meaning to them, definitive descriptions to describe who should compete in a category. The woke left, words have no meaning, and thus they thought that by augmenting definitions they could achieve a desired result, when this is a little more than a grammatical error. This is biology. All words can do is describe what is, but augmenting those words doesn't change anything. It doesn't change what is, and if those words fail to describe what is, then that defeats the purpose of them. Because that's what they're for. They're not for a guy with inverted testicles to compete among women. Doesn't matter how he was was raised. How he identifies? Let me tell you something. I can identify as a clam, but that doesn't mean I can breathe underwater. If you feed a chicken dog food, is it going to give birth to a litter of puppies? Because you raised it as a dog? What are we doing here? What are we doing? What the hell is going on?
Woke left.
Call them woke when they're actually asleep. They're dreaming, because they would have to be dreaming to think they could pass this off as a woman, and nobody would notice. I didn't need to be an expert in the field or an endocrinologist to take one look at Imane Khelif and know that's a biological man. Nobody did. Not me, not Enzo Maccarinelli, not J.K. Rowling. J.K., who's come under attack for defending women's rights in sport. Actual women. The effeminate male actor Pedro Pascal has gone on the attack, but for what? For what? Because J.K. believes that women's sports should be for biological women. Up is down, down is up, left is right to these people. They are agents of chaos. Told you. The woke left is at odds with structure, at odds with order. They favor chaos in order to reflect the chaos in their own lives and in their own minds. They wish to infect the rest of us.
Woke left.
Their filth is the bane of our times. Up is down, down is up, left is right to these people. If that seems biblical, it's because it is.
Woke left.
Less concerned with things like biology and fairness to female athletes, since they think it's at all fair for a man to run around punching up women and winning medals for doing it. The woke left are deceptive, are liars. It's established that they're willing to lie to get at what they want, since they tried to bury this. In case you forgot, they told guys like me and you not to trust the IBA and their tests, when they are the ones who shouldn't be trusted.
Woke left.
From don't trust the test to don't even conduct one. Gee, I wonder why. Is it because this whole time you've been afraid of what you'll find? Or is it because you already know?
They are deceivers.
They are deceptive. And if there is a means to describe them, they are evil. What's the opposite of the truth? What is it? A lie. You think these are good people that would allow a man to punch up on a bunch of women for no other reason than how they feel?
They are demons.
They are evil. And they must be fought wherever they are.
They must be met with righteous strength.
There's a lot more going on here than you guys realize. Better start paying attention. Men's welterweight news. Manny Pacquiao wants to break Bernard Hopkins' record as oldest champion and eyes up to 3 more fights beyond the one that he's about to have. Hollywood, California. Manny Pacquiao has been non-committal whenever he's been pressed to answer how long his comeback campaign will continue, but on Wednesday, during a media workout at Wildcard Boxing Gym ahead of his July 19th fight against Mario Barrios, the 46-year-old Hall of Famer and 8-weight world champion revealed what he envisions. "I think I have 2 or 3 more fights left," said Pacquiao. "I feel like I could do this for another couple of years, but I'm just taking it one fight at a time." 3 fights? Who's he gonna fight for 3 fights? Mario Barrios would be 1. A potential Rolly Romero fight would be 2. And a fight with Gervonta Davis could be 3. Rolly Romero would service as a common opponent between them, and Rolly is about to be WBA champion after all. So if Manny prized the green and gold title away from Mario, a fight between him and Rolly would be a unification match. Pacquiao would become the 2nd oldest champion in boxing history if he beats the WBC welterweight champion Barrios. Bernard Hopkins holds the record at 49, and Pacquiao wants to shatter that milestone. "My goal is to become the oldest world champion and retire as a champion," said Pacquiao. "This fight is very important to me because it's history. I believe I'd be the first Hall of Famer to win another world title, and I'd also break my own record as the oldest welterweight world champion. If the betting underdog Pacquiao beats Barrios at the MGM Grand in Vegas, a pack of young and hungry lions is waiting to be uncaged. Rolly Romero, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, and Brian Norman have already raised their hands to mix it up with Pacquiao. Quite shamelessly, I might add. They want to fight a 46-year-old quasi-retired Pacquiao more than they want to fight each other for obvious reasons, because in their mind's eye, Pacquiao at this age is low-hanging fruit. He's not the fighter that he once was. Do you think any of these guys would be in a hurry to mix it up with a prime Pacquiao, the one who battered Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito?
Oh no.
Discussions around lightweight champion and knockout artist Gervonta Davis jumping up 2 weight classes for a dance have also been reignited whenever the Filipino icon has faced the media, especially since Pacquiao has welcomed a tilt with Tank in retirement following his loss to Yordenis Lugas 4 years ago. When I retired in 2021, it wasn't a good feeling because I had it in my heart and in my mind that I can still fight, said Pacquiao. I've always known that I could still work hard and dedicate myself and focus on training. I've rested and now I'm back in a welterweight division that is substantially weaker than it once was. Because if a 46-year-old Pacquiao can win a title in it, what does that tell you? I feel fast and I feel like the strength is still there. I can still do what I've done before in training. If anything, my team right now is trying to slow me down and making sure that I get enough rest. I still want to push myself every day, but I know that I have to listen to my team. Boxing is my passion. I've missed the sport. These last 4 years have been good for my body because I've been doing this for a long time. I feel like my passion and fire is back, and you can see it in my work. In Manny Pacquiao's first endeavor into PBC Island and the world of PBC, it was mostly fruitful. Beating up on Adrian Bronier, beating up on Keith Thurman, these younger fighters.
To a lot of people,
It looked like Manny Pacquiao had found the fountain of youth after he looked like an old man with Jeff Horn. He goes in there with Broner, he goes in there with Keith, and he seems a new man. But he really wasn't. It's just that he was facing a lesser grade of fighter than the fighters he was fighting over at Top Rank. I've long maintained that PBC fighters are usually inferior to top-rank fighters. And that was with the previous cycle of welterweights. This new cycle is even weaker than that one was. Who are we talking about? Rolly? Ryan? Come on. Guy that he's about to fight, Mario Barrios. Going life or death with Fabian Maidana? Abel Ramos? I guess what you have to ask yourself is, what's better for the division and what's better for boxing? Is it better for boxing if a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao has a title, or is it better if Mario sends him packing, if Mario officially retires? You have to consider that so long as a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao is running around, a lot of these young guys ain't gonna want to fight each other because they're all gonna go after the low-hanging fruit. They're all gonna go after him. So does that make for a better welterweight division? Not really. It's going to be gridlocked. Everybody's going to hold off on fighting each other because they all want to fight the old man. And at 46 years old, there's only so many of these guys that a 46-year-old Manny can fight, and even fewer that Manny can beat. Now, he can probably beat Mario Barrios, maybe. And maybe he can beat Rolly Romero. You will notice, though, the odds makers have Manny as a slight underdog going in. And that's a testament to how far from grace he's fallen. He's not the fighter that he used to be. A couple of years ago, they would have picked him to annihilate a Mario Barrios. In 2025, he's a slight underdog. Elsewhere in the welterweight division, per Brian Norman's manager, Adrian Clark, welp, that was quick. Unless I'm being punked, I'm told there's no fight between Norman Jr. versus Haney. But didn't they say that Devin had already signed his end and that Turkey was going to bankroll it? Didn't Brian Norman say that there was a verbal agreement in place for them to fight? This is a very different era of boxing than your father's era of boxing. There is a lot more he said, she said in this era than there was in the previous one. So when you're confused, you've kind of got to go with your common sense. Given how careful Devin was with Jose Ramirez of all people, does it seem at all logical to you that he would then fight Brian Norman, who's fresher and younger, punches harder, campaigns at a heavier weight?
You blaming Devin for this?
It sounds like Adrian Clark is. Sounds like Adrian Clark is trying to get ahead of the story so that he can point the finger at the people on the opposite aisle. Could be Devin's fault, but it could just as easily be Brian's fault, Brian's team. According to Bill Haney, the same amount of money that they were asking for Boots, they were going to provide the Normans to fight Devin. So that's in the neighborhood of roughly $2 million. The old saying goes, yesterday's price is not today's price. So maybe yesterday they were asking for $2 million for Boots, but with Turkey LL Sheik involved, They may have wanted more. They may have wanted more for Devin because of Turkey than what they were asking for Boots.
Here and now, I don't know the exact reason that this fight fell apart. All I can tell you is, I didn't get excited. Not yet, because I figured things could fall apart. They usually do. If you're talking about American fighters in the American boxing scene, then more often than not, you're talking about why a fight isn't happening, as opposed to breaking down one that is. A guy who goes by the name Anthony Ware said, Brian Norman Jr. should seek a substantial sum of $7 million if Turki El Sheikh is indeed financing a bout against Devin Haney, scheduled for August of this year. This contest is positioned as a championship fight. It is essential for fighters to avoid accepting undervalued offers when facing Devin.
Undervalued? Buddy, you're talking about close to $10 million. Do you know how ridiculous you sound?
$7 million is far too close to $10 million. And $10 million is what Caleb Plant got to fight Canelo Alvarez. You're saying that Brian should get in the neighborhood of that to fight Devin Haney.
Why?
So that negotiations can reach a stalemate, so that the fight can fall apart, and so that the Americans can continue to argue about fights not happening instead of talking about fights that are. Because this is your typical American boxing fan that has a knack for playing fanager.
Don't accept anything less than $10 million.
This is the kind of stuff that ruined what could have been AJ versus Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz priced himself out. Deontay Wilder, more famously. That's why we never got those fights.
$7 million for Devin Haney. Are you out of your mind?
Once again, I don't know the exact reason that this fight fell apart. All I know is that this Anthony Ware person's reasoning skills are highly unreasonable. Just because Turkey's involved doesn't mean you get to ask for the moon and the stars. That's ridiculous, and that's why American fighters don't fight. They do a lot of podcasts, they do a lot of interviews.
They spend a lot of time online tweeting tweets and talking shit. But what they don't do is fight each other. Brian Norman didn't fight Boots because he priced himself out. Now you're telling Brian to price himself out again so that we don't get another fight.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves and put the cart before the horse. We don't know that we can blame the Normans for this, at least I don't.
Could be the Haney's fault. I mean, Devin Haney, looking how he looked with Jose, to then fight Brian Norman straight away, that's a suicide mission.
Devin doesn't have the style for that fight or the strength for that fight. There are too many people that are convinced that boxing is more of a ballet than a brawl, more of a waltz. They think that any guy with a halfway decent jab and a Philly shell always wins.
A byproduct of the Mayweather era, the brainwashing.
Flashy moves didn't help Rashidi Ellis when he fought Roman Villa. Flashy moves didn't help Zelfa Barrett when he got stopped by Shavkat Rakhimov. Rayo Valenzuela tried to use his fancy feet on Gary Antoine Russell. That didn't work. So what makes you think that Devin's got what it takes to beat Brian Norman? What? Because he beat George Kambosos?
Regis Prograis?
Think about how Devin Haney has looked in his last two fights. He couldn't stay out of the way of Ryan Garcia's left hook. He fought Jose Ramirez like he was made out of enriched uranium.
Think about how Devin Haney has looked in his last two fights.
And what about that makes you think that he's ready for a young, hungry lion like Brian Norman? What? I don't know who's to blame for this fight's collapse. All I know is that Devin Haney may have potentially dodged the bullet here, because I don't think he was going to win that fight.